Hey everyone, welcome back to Reading with Tatiana. Today I'm doing a book to movie adaptation review for my best friend's Exorcism by Grady Hendrix. I will link my full book review down below in the description if you want to check it out. And this movie is also available to stream on Amazon Prime Video if you have it. As far as the book to movie adaptation goes, I give it a 3 out of 5. As a movie by itself, it was quite fun, so I'll give it a 4 out of 5. And on Rotten Tomatoes, the critic score was 53%. On IMDb, by reviewers, I guess like users of IMDb, the average was 5.3 out of 10. And on Google reviews, this movie got an average of 55%. The premise of the book and the movie, I would say, is pretty accurate and very similar to each other. So basically, we meet Abby and Gretchen, who are high schoolers and they're best friends. They're kind of like the ride together, die together best friends. This movie and book is set in the 80s. There's lots of 80s pop references and lots of nostalgia if you were a product of the 80s. So they talk on the phone every night, they love each other, that kind of stuff. So one day, I think it's like a summer weekend or something, they go on a weekend get girls trip with their two other friends and they actually drop acid or LSD. Gretchen gets lost during the acid trip, and when she comes back, she's clearly very injured, very scrambled, and she starts to act a little differently after the acid trip. And they kind of accounted for maybe she just was affected by the acid trip, but as days pass, weird things start happening to people around them. Gretchen starts acting differently, and Abby notices this behavior. And at first, she thought maybe Gretchen was assaulted in the woods during the acid trip, but later it turns out that maybe it's not assault and maybe something to do with Satanism, demonism. Don't want to ruin it, but the movie and book is called My Best Friend's Exorcism. The first category I'm going to rate this movie, a book to movie adaptation, is it true to the books? I gave it 3 out of 5 because even though I enjoyed the movie and there were lots of key aspects that are very similar, some things were different. So for example, in the book, they took the acid trip, like I said before, and then Gretchen had gone missing. But in the movie, Gretchen and Abby had entered this abandoned home together, and then some demonic voice came and then gave them both very different experiences and caught Gretchen behind. Other things were different that in the book, they used the phrase to each other as best friends, D, B, and Q, which means dearly but not cruelly. But I think because this movie is made in 2022, they wanted to be politically correct, so they said Lila, which means love you like a, or Lilas, which means love you like a sister, which is fine, but it was interesting because they still used the word queer in the movie later on, so I felt it was kind of inconsistent. Other thing that I think they surpassed in the movie adaptation is the Lemon Brothers. It was a fitness and faith adaptation. These brothers who lift you, will use the power of Christ to lift you literally with fitness, and I thought they did a great job adapting that. Some of the action sequences and plot points were slightly different. For example, Glee in the book became more faithful and became more religious, whereas in the movie she had a love romantic interest for the forefront in the group, and there's a bit of like conflict that happened with Glee and Gretchen in the movie that wasn't even in the book, so that was a discrepancy. I also think the climax of the movie was slightly different than the book. I read the book like a month ago, so I don't really remember what happened in the book exactly, but I remember the ending being a little bit different, but still in the end, the problem solved itself. And the thing they did keep in the movie from the book, which I was not looking forward to, was the tapeworm scene. I'm not going to go into details, but in my head, when I read the book, it was way worse than how it's shown in the movie, so I'm glad that the adaptation wasn't as accurate as in my mind when I read the book. For the casting, I thought they did a great job, especially with Gretchen and Abby. Gretchen was casted really well. The actress was great as playing all the different roles she had within that one character. I also thought the Lemon Brother was also casted really well, and the actor did a great job with comedic relief. I would say all the characters were casted well. They all were playing high schoolers, and even though they're probably actors in their 20s, they were made up and costumed for me to believe that they were high schoolers. I do want to say that it was very painfully obvious of the wigs in the movie, or maybe it was the 80s, so that all the characters had crazy blowouts. But yeah, the hair and the bigness of it looked kind of fake to me, and it kind of took me away from the movie at points. The aesthetics of the movie, I really enjoyed it. I thought it felt like it was a movie filmed in the 80s, but of course the camera is more high quality. Really enjoyed that. I thought I did a great job with the costumings, the sets, the music, the soundtracks. It was great. In terms of a movie by itself, I thought it was super fun. I probably wouldn't pay to watch it in theaters, but if you find it on Amazon Prime Video where it's available, I think it's fun to watch. It's a 90-minute movie, which is great. I feel like nowadays movies are so long. I thought they were fun characters. It was like fun, like set in the 80s. I think the movie, if you're curious, it would be like horror but mixed with comedy, so it's not too scary. There are some like creepy parts, and I think it's suitable for teenagers if you are okay as a parent for your teenager to watch a bit of minor gore and horror. I also love all the throwbacks. There weren't words used in the book, but it was used in the movie, and they're kind of fun. It reminds me of the words used in the 90s and 80s. So, for example, nerky for naked, spaz, boned, malfunction, rad. I just thought it was like really fun to have all these throwbacks. So yeah, overall it was an easy movie to watch, and I enjoyed it. Thank you for watching until the end of my review for the book to movie adaptation of My Best Friend's Exorcism, originally by Grady Hendrix and available to watch on Amazon Prime Video. If you have read the book or watched the movie adaptation, I'd love to hear what you thought down below. And yeah, I'll see you guys next time. Bye.